Lab number 271. In this lab, we will try to use some of the management features, in particular direct update and remote disable for our application. So those two features can really simplify life not only for admins, but especially for developers, because basically things like direct update will allow you to update the web package, and for hybrid app, the web package means the web resources, so the whole your app without the native code, without actually need to reinstall the app. So for now, as you remember, we were using Google Watch to watch for changes in our application folder, and then CDV Live to launch the live reload server that will update all those stuff on the mobile device. But that is good for development. But when we are going to test this app, for example, on a couple of devices, or when we are going to test this app or deploy it to the device of our colleague and we need to update the app there is a management task to do so. And developers during the initial stages of development can really simplify this process. So what we will do first is we will try to launch the same app using Ionic run Android command. So we will have no live reload server working anymore here. We will just simply run one time our particular application with version 001. As you remember, we specified that in our config XML. By default, that was the version number. So we are one time building the app and running that app on a mobile device. So that one will be launched in a second. Okay, so now the application is launching, and we will have the version that we just packed and deployed one time. So let's imagine that we need to change something inside that app. So I will log in inside just to see this default shadow page. And let's imagine I want to replace this today's shadow with different title, something like shadow for today. So for that, usually I need to go to my application code, in this case to shadow HTML file, and just kind of change something and save this file. So the goal will do its work. We will have the changes applied to our www folder, but in order to distribute those changes to particular apps that they're deployed somewhere, we need somehow to push that. The normal way of doing so, the typical way, will be to pack a new version of the app, release it, then deploy it to some private app store or something like that, and then distribute, and then user needs to install it. While within MobileFirst Platform, we can do much easier thing. So let's go back to our CDV Live tab and just do the following: mfp dev app web update. So this command will do two things. First, it will build this web resources package. Second, it will deploy this web resources package to our default server. So if you want to deploy it to a specific server, you can type the server name and then the runtime name. You can also specify with -- build if you want just to do a build. But at the end, this build will mean that you will have the zip archive with your web resources. That zip archive can be deployed to your console. So if you will go to operations console, let me refresh it after timeout. So if you will go to your application, to your Android version of the app in our case, you will see that there is the direct update and there is the way to upload the web resources archive. So this is the exactly thing that we are going to do, but we were going to do it automatically, because without specifying any parameters to mfp-dev app web update, you will automatically, together with the build, perform a deploy to your default server with the default runtime of all those web resources. So after deployment completion, you will be able to see that on the management tab, there will be information about last update on web resources. So you can upload the new one. It expects the zip file, as I said, or you can leave it as is. So by default, the action should be the following. Once client that has an earlier version of that web resources, and this is checked by checksum. So if the client has the earlier version of those, will connect to server, then the server will check the difference between those and update the client side connected if that one is older. So for us, if you remember, on the rating tab, we were calling the server to get employee rating. So when we click in the rating tab, it connects to a server, it checks whether there is an update, and as you can see, it says to us that newer web resources are available, confirm to update. So when you will click the update button, the automatic download will start, and basically after unpacking and applying, you will get the totally new version of your app inside with the new title, just as we did it previously. Okay, so we get our update ready. So basically that was it. Together with the direct update capabilities to update our application in real time, we also have a chance to block the access to our application or notify about some upcoming updates. So for example, we can say that, well, newer version will be released soon. Just the message that we want all people who just enter in the app to get. So when we will save this message in our management tab, we will see that when we are going to rating, it will connect to a server and deliver this service notification with our message inside. So all of those can be customized. I mean, the button names, the text that you're entering, the view, how it looks, and you can upload your own different languages in case you're expecting visitors from different countries, so they can see this notification in their own language. And together with this notification about just some information, you can also disable access at all. So like you can provide the URL of the newer application version somewhere in your private app store or in the public app store, for example, or you can provide here just the URL to some page. Let's go with google.com, for example, and let's say newer version is already there. So we are saving this message, trying to enter. And we are getting this information once we will connect the server to the server next time. So as you can see, by default we have two buttons, upgrade button and close button. Well, by default, if you will click the close button, you won't be able to connect to server anymore. The app will continue work and you will need to manually define your actions in your application code. When you click upgrade button, by default it will open that URL that you provided in the description. So let's go with upgrade button, and we should open the google.com to see our kind of page with information about new version. Of course, new version is not there. By the way, if you want to make a new version, it's also pretty easy. So what we need to do is basically we need to go to our config XML. So config XML is our main configuration for hybrid projects using Cordova, and there is the version on the top. Like in our case, the version number is 001. So if we will change this, for example, for 002, and we are saying that we are going to distribute the newer version of our app, we can simply save this file. Then we need to propagate those changes from this config XML to the configs of our particular apps in native folders. So for that we can type Cordova prepare, and afterwards we can basically do a deployment of the new version. So there are two steps that we need to do. The first thing is we need to actually register the newer version of our application on MobileFirst server, on MobileFirst Foundation server. So for that, if you remember, we need to type mfpdev app register. So this will add new registration, and afterwards we need to do a Cordova prepare again. So now in our operations console, on this versions tab, we will see that there are two versions, 002 and 001. So those have different configs, like different settings for security, for authenticity, and so on, and totally different configuration. You can have different settings for those, for push and so on. And basically, you can afterwards install your version to a particular device and continue working from there. We won't be doing so, but it's really easy. If you really want to do it, you just need to type Ionic run Android, for example, and you will install the version 002. But just because the version is with a different configuration and we need to replicate all the config settings, it's easier not to do that, and it's easier just to clone and then change the version name. But this is not our goal. So I will delete the version 002 and just set back the version number to 001 and do a Cordova prepare one more time. And finally, let's go to console to our initial version 001 and make it active again. So afterwards, we just need to try to restart our app to see that it's still working. So yep, we managed to log in inside, get our shell, so everything working as it was before. So basically that's all for this lab. We will continue development of our application in next labs, and thank you for watching this.